Would you describe yourself as a people pleaser? If you think of yourself as a kind girl like myself, you're probably also a people pleaser. And I call people pleasing the silent killer. The reason why I call it the silent killer is because when we're out pleasing everybody else and focusing on that, on the external scorecard, we lose our sense of self, which can create intense loneliness, going through the motions, and just a really lack of fulfillment in life. God made us each unique and individual, and by not letting our light shine in that way, we really diminish ourselves and diminish what we can bring to the world. So where does people pleasing get its start? Well, like everything, there's a little bit of nature and there's a little bit of nurture. I think just how I was born, I was always a pretty nice person. I also think in my home that helped create that people pleasing thing. And what research has found is that if you are in a home where the feeling of anger or is not expressed, and that's like a emotion that's not allowed, then you start having to kind of remove that part of yourself and show up a little differently, which starts creating a pattern of people pleasing. Also, if you grew up in a home where you had an alcoholic parent or maybe a mentally unstable parent and you were walking on eggshells, anytime we grow up in a situation like that, we just learn to read the room and learn to read what's going on, part of just survival. Because as a child, we just take that in as like, to be a part of this group and to be a part of this system, we need to do that to survive. And so we just develop an easy people-pleasing way of being. The challenge is, as I just said, that doesn't serve us in the long run. So let's talk about the result of my people-pleasing. So I was a people pleaser for a good 22 years in my previous marriage. And the cost to me was that I was physically having all sorts of problems and emotionally having so many problems as well. Only when it came to about like a system of 5 years of more destructive relationship, then I would just crump and not sleep. And that wasn't good for me. So I noticed this pattern, a chronic pattern going on in our relationship, and as much as I addressed it or, brought that to his attention, there just wasn't really any room for me. I remember asking him when we were going through the divorce, I'm like, why were you always trying to change me into your mom? I just don't understand. He's like, I was just trying to perfect you. And so as you can tell, in his mind, he was just trying to create me into somebody else. There wasn't a lot of room for me. And in order to survive in that system, I just became a people pleaser. He had a marvelous marriage. Challenge is I didn't, and I was really suffering, and that wasn't good. It wasn't an emotionally safe marriage, nor could he create that. Either he chose not to, or he didn't have the ability with his Aspergerish tendencies. So not really sure. But all I knew is the impact was on me was devastating, and I had a choice to make. I could either continue, be on medication in order to survive the relationship, or choose a different way. And I chose a different way, which was so different than my people pleasing, because this is what I ended up doing. I'm like, I have to make this choice. The challenge is I'm damned if I do, because it goes against everything I really, thought I believed in as far as with marriage and God and disappointing God and all of those and disappointing my family. But it would kill me and allow me not to be able to take care of my children if I stay. So either way, it was like, I just can't, there's just no good way to go. So I just decided and made a plan that's like, okay, I'm going to just, give 2 weeks notice, let him know, and then leave and not let any of my family or friends know, because they would all have opinions. And I was so used to being a chronic people pleaser, I knew I just couldn't stand with that. So I'm like, I just have to cut everybody else. I have to appear before God doing this, and I have to be at peace with that. And I cannot micromanage everyone else's emotions regarding my decision. So I left, looked crazy, and accepted rejection and all of that, and started to pursue a life with the kids. And it was really challenging, but so freeing. I mean, having been such a people pleaser and having really suffered from that, it just had to change. So the interesting thing is how that worked. I just had to trust God with the truth of the situation and with my future. So even though it had a great cost, it also had a great gain. I didn't realize the impact of my tolerating bad behavior, of not showing up as myself. of all of those things, how it was training my children to do the same, to be people pleasers, to not show up as themselves. And I just saw a big difference as far as, how they behaved, and going into the world, I feel like there's much more prepared for life, because I have to say I probably did not raise them the best in some of these areas. And then I just had to also gain a sense of self and kind of get back in touch with who I am, what matters to me, and all of that. The cool thing is it worked out really well. My children are all doing, 4 children, are all doing really well. And then as I recovered from my own, because people pleasing, which actually I feel like is addiction. Like it's kind of like the codependency and is kind of addictive. So really worked to recover from that. Then I was able to have a healthy relationship where there was room for both people and where we can just be healthily moved together and be a team of love and respect. Are you finding yourself constantly pouring your energy into relationships, leaving you drained and unfulfilled? Do you feel like you're going through the motions of life and have somehow lost yourself? The Unraveled Notebook offers a transformative journey to break free from those exhausting patterns. The guided prompts are designed to reconnect you with your inner self, strengthen your relationship with God, and foster healthier connections with others. The Unraveled Notebook will help you identify and overcome old patterns, paving the way to a brighter, more intimate life. The Unraveled Notebook journey for me, I took as an overly kind person in a destructive relationship for 22 years and transformed me into a now thriving business owner with a fabulous marriage. Start your journey to live brighter today. Order the Unraveled Notebook on Amazon. And, with that said, even though that was a huge change, just leaving and standing on my own, I still struggle with honoring myself and people pleasing. I think as naturally a kind girl, this is something I always have to work on. I have to listen to my body a lot and be like, oh yeah, that is actually my body's saying no, even though I'm saying yes. And so it's just having to be connected with myself. I think it's interesting to think about the Bible as far as what it says about people pleasing. And I would say that God talks about how the fear of man instead of the fear of God is idolatry, basically. And so basically by elevating others' opinions before like having God as my highest and main pursuit, then that was a form of adultery that I did. And so again, the order God has aligned for us is so beautiful, because it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love others as you love yourself. So again, it's God, self, then others. And that is just super, super important. Also, it's very interesting. I feel like as people pleasers, we're basically either lying to ourselves about who we are, or we're lying to others about who we are. And I can attest that probably was accurate, even though it wasn't intentional and it was kind of a mechanism of safety. But in the reality, that's what I was doing. I am so tired of attracting selfish, narcissistic relationships. It's exhausting. Even in my workplace, I find that people want to take advantage of my time and energy, and I don't even get it. And friendships are a little bit that way too. What? What are you staring at? Do I have a zit on my face? What? I have a bullseye on my forehead? You mean I'm part of the problem and I'm attracting this myself? That's terrible. If you would like to sign up for the free Kind Girl Bullseye quiz, click the link and you'll find out how big your bullseye is for attracting those kind of relationships and how to make it smaller. So how do we recover from people pleasing? How do we be more present with ourselves and be ourselves? I would say 3 things. So first of all, just having an awareness of where it comes from and just take an inventory of your life and who you are, as far as like, gosh, I do think I'm a people pleaser and I don't like the results of it and it's actually not serving me and not healthy. And then second is you just start choosing to be different and make room for yourself. Sometimes it's a matter of even just getting to know yourself more, create that space. What do I like? What don't I like? What am I willing to compromise on? What am I not willing to compromise on? And really developing a good sense of self. And that's a beautiful thing because we're all different, and that diversity in our world is what makes our world a better place. And then after you make room for yourself, then you start just making room for yourself with others. And that's basically just being more honest about your boundaries and who you are and what's important to you. As I kind of look at it now, I'm like, I'm kind of the purple wall. Like, I'm the purple wall that some people are going to look at and be like, ooh, I really actually don't like that color. And I'd be like, that's okay. You know, I'm a purple wall. You don't have to like the color. I'm probably not for everybody. And that's okay. And just really being able to stand like that. And also just being our own best friends. You know, and again, I always talk about that self-talk that we're talking to ourselves and just being our own best friends and being at peace with that. So yeah, making room for yourself and then making room for yourself with others. It's fabulous. And it's a lot of work for us people pleasers. So it's my responsibility to take care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually, and also knowing and expressing myself. That is my job, and I'm learning to grow in it daily. I feel like Boundary Boss, the book, is a wonderful resource to help with people pleasing and understanding that. That book, I did a book study with, I guess there were about 8 to 10 gals, and we were all chronic people pleasers. And we did that book, Boundary Boss, and it was actually life-changing because so much of it is just learning the tools and putting in the time to make room for yourself. And that's a great book in order to do that. And that's by Terry Cole. So grow 1% every day, be more of yourself in the world, and let your light shine brighter. Make it a great day.